Welcome to my lecture on working with color. I will be discussing color related to both antique and modern dolls. Throughout this lecture, I will be using Sealy's paints, which is now known as New York Dynamics, for my discussion. The reason for this is because it is what I know best and what I've worked with the most. You can substitute and use the many different colors available out there from other companies or what you already have. I've had the pleasure of trying new paints, Doll Artisan Guild, Porcelain Place, Bell, and others. It is getting to know them and experiment to improve your knowledge that is important, not which company. Choose the ones you like to work with and understand, or has been given to you on a technique sheet to start. From there you can expand. As an artist who paints antique reproduction dolls, your goal to achieve in doll making is to duplicate the exact look of the original antique. We try to match the color of the doll as much as possible. Your complexion, the doll's brows, lips, lashes, all her choices are geared towards the original. The greatest compliment is when a person thinks a reproduction is an actual antique. Therefore, we're not thinking about color as it can be used, but as it was used. When painting the face, I choose colors to match the antique's painting. I want my reproduction to have the same coloring as the antique, no matter how I intend to finish the doll. My choice of paints will come from the research I've learned of the painting of the original, not what I imagine it should be. The costuming, I will choose a style to match the air of the doll, but I'm free to choose any color scheme I wish to create. When choosing the wig, I want to complement the outfit. The color choices are flexible in this stage. This doesn't mean we have no flexibility in the painting. Lots of times there are different versions of color used by the doll company over the years of the same mold of doll. You'll find this out by looking up many different photos of the antique, which is much easier these days with access to the internet. Just remember to confirm the picture is an antique and not a reproduction. The example I will be using to explain this is the well-known French doll, the Brujou. When painting the brow, I start with Sealy's paints, eyebrow 2 and 7 equal parts. This is my base color for French dolls. Eyebrow 2 is called olive, giving me the hint of green in the brow, which is very common in the look of French dolls. And eyebrow 7 is called espresso, a neutral brown that goes with everything and doesn't change the base of the color, but will give it depth. I then have the luxury of some control on the brows. For example, the Brujou came in a variety of colors. To lighten the brow, I add eyebrow 1 caramel to my French mixture of eyebrow 2 and eyebrow 7. I start with one part and then keep adding mixing until I get my desired shade. For a mid-range of color with red tones, you start with a French base of equal parts of eyebrow 2 and eyebrow 7, and then you add eyebrow 3, which is also known as copper, until you reach desired tone of color. The brow will not look totally red-brown, the base will soften it, keeping that undercoat of green that is typical in French dolls. For the Brujous with darker brows, I still start with equal parts of eyebrow 2 and eyebrow 7, but now I add one part of eyebrow 4, also known as dark brown, to the mixture. Keep adding a bit at a time until you reach the desired darkness you are trying to achieve. You want a dark brow, but not too dark, more of a brunette coloring, although I'm not necessarily matching the wig color, but the overall tone of the face. You want to match the depth of the color in the lips and cheeks to balance the intensity of the face. The overall look should complement your wig and costume, but keep the ambience of the antique. That leaves us with the final tone choice, the darkest brow without reaching black. You take equal parts of eyebrow 2 and eyebrow 7, then add a third part of eyebrow 7 again. This gives the brow the same base but a darker look. It gives the brow a dramatic look on the delicate skin tones, which brings to my mind the character of Snow White. If you're doing an ethnic brew, you would add black to the final mixture. Using straight black would be too harsh. I then use the same paint colors on the rest of the faces for all the heads. This includes the wash, lips, cheeks, shading, and accents, etc. The difference is I will vary the layers of paint, also known as tone, to accommodate the brows, that they contrast nice together, giving a balanced face, staying within the look of the doll. When I am painting an antique, I first find a photo, or if I'm lucky, the actual antique of what I am painting. You then copy the doll's face, the color, and the style. I then choose my fabrics and wig color to complement each other. Try different wigs with the costume to see which one appeals to you. The discipline derived from painting antiques is invaluable. If I know how to duplicate the look of an antique, I can take that knowledge or method to duplicate and execute a concept for the modern doll. Contemporary dolls, no longer do we think staying within the boundaries of reproduction. We are now free to use our creativity, keeping within our imagination. With color, you can affect your doll's age, mood, or culture. By choosing your color carefully, you can use your doll to create an image to your viewer. You can change the doll's sex, their age, culture, and much more, all because how you choose and apply those colors. Which brings you to a modern concept in doll making. Now, unlike the antique, we are choosing colors that the complexion and brows match the hair. There's no photo or doll we are copying, but instead a concept we want to create. For costumes, we pick fabrics and styles to match that concept. We are creating a vision that tells a story to the audience of the doll. When you select from the many colors of China paints that the industry has to offer, ask yourself what it is you wish to achieve. Some examples are brow color for the wig, lip color for age, young or old, shading for a lady or a baby. Very different choices. The saying goes, the deeper the crevice, the grayer the color, the flatter the surface, the redder the color. This will help you as a guide for blending and shading your complexion. For a lady, I would use pink fawn shadow for the contouring because I want the grayer crevices representing age. For a baby, I would want more pink than gray, therefore I would add Bistone 1 to pink up the pink fawn shadow. Mixing the two together will give me a lighter color. Try to visualize the finished product of your doll. To execute your concept, choose your paints accordingly to that desired effect. You are now creating a story. Be the artist instead of just painting a pretty doll. Think before you begin. What is your end goal? Sometimes this will change as you go along, but you need to have a starting place. How is usually the next question. To begin working with colors, you need to know more about them. A color wheel is a helpful tool. Most of you know the basics. We start with the three primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. Then we have secondary colors, green, orange, and purple. All other colors are a combination of these 6 colors. Creating colors, you can divide the descriptions into different categories. Hue being the actual color. Lightness is the shade of the color. This would be usually used with white or black added to the hue. In China paint, because we apply heat and our paints are translucent, adding white or black muddies the color. We do it instead by painting layers of paint, firing in between each layer. The number of layers create the shade of color. Saturation is the vividness or intensity of color. Red is more saturated than russet, even though both use the same hue and shade. Which brings us next to tertiary colors, or otherwise known as intermediate. You mix together one primary color, red, blue, or yellow, with a secondary color, green, purple, or orange. Intensity or chroma is the brightest or dullness of color. To achieve this with China paint, apply black or brown as a final layer on top of the color you have painted to get the deepest or darkest effect. China paints are translucent. The original color will come through, giving maximum depth. Single layers of color gives a paint a dullness, keeping it very light and soft, no intensity, showing little depth. This gives us the same effect in painting with non-fired paints when white is added. One layer of China paint is less saturated than 2 layers compared to 3. An example would be when painting the mouth. If the muscles of the lips are 1 layer and the outline is another layer, creating 2, and the center is 3 layers, you have lightness and saturation in the mouth by painting layers and not changing the color. You can also intensify this by using different colors but similar colors in the layers. Similar colors are neighbors on the color wheel. They are adjacent to one another. One will enhance or tone down the other. For an example, red and orange. Similar colors have a common color. I like to use them with fabrics, but change the pattern, maybe a solid with a stripe instead of two solids. Contrasting colors have three colors between them on the color wheel, using either primary, secondary, or mix. Colors of the same family will give you a result of a less vivid color. Complementary colors are opposite hues on the color wheel, example yellow and purple. Both, when laid alongside one another, the intensity of each color is increased. To help understand what I'm saying, if you paint a yellow lemon on a sheet of paper and shade the bottom of the lemon with brown, a contrasting color, the lemon will look flat, the colors will blend together. If you use purple to shade the bottom of the lemon, a complementary color, it will pop, giving the lemon depth. When referring to color for other medias, things will be different than when working with China paints. Exposure to high heat changes how color interact with each other. We work different with the tints, tones, and shading. When choosing your color to mix, you need to remember this. White and black added to a paint will make it muddy. You accomplish the above by how you layer the paint and firings. Now that you understand what makes up the color, it will help you identify which color you need. When mixing primary colors together, you can create warm or cool colors, depending on the amount of one primary color to the other. Take a primary color on the wheel. The color on the left is cool, the color on the right is warm. We also relate to cool being blue base, creating a feminine, fragile look, and warm colors being yellow base, creating a masculine, strong effect. Remember, there are warm reds and cool reds. Where there is more blue, the cooler the color. Where there is more yellow, the warmer the color. Warm and cool refer to the actual color or hue. Family of color is when the colors share the same primary color or hue. China paints are not like any pigments, and pigments are pastels, watercolors, oils, acrylics, etc. They have to undergo intense heat. They are not self-drying. You will find certain colors are cannibal, particularly those with a yellow base, but not all. Experiment to know what colors eat each other. What I mean by eat each other is that they change color when they come out of the kiln. You put one color going in, and when it comes out it has changed because the one color has taken over the other color. Test your color combinations on a separate palette. Get to know your paints and understand what you're working with. Everything you do, see, or feel is affected by color. We choose our colors to wear to suit our moods. Many times you may have changed your choice of outfits. What one day felt right doesn't the next day. This is affected by your mood. You can relate this to dolls. Choose a mood you wish to express and paint towards this effect. When working with color, you, the artist, sets the viewer's reaction or mood towards the doll. When you begin to think of painting your doll, you need to change your perspective on how to begin. Think mood, expression, emotion, culture, age, concept. What is your story? Then choose your colors accordingly. Begin mixing up your paints with your concept in mind. Start with the lightest tone and finish with the darkest. Remember, you need multiple layers, firing in between to give the full intensity and depth you wish to create. Painting dolls today, with all the paint colors available, we have so much room for creativity. No limitations to our imagination. Artists are sculpting and painting more realistic dolls than ever before. They want their dolls to talk to you and tell a story. Color choices help you get there. Experiment and have fun. Create something more than just a pretty doll. Challenge yourself. You may be pleasantly surprised with the outcome. Push yourself. Do not think anything is impossible. As you get confident, introduce more colors to your painting. You can create shading with layers of paint or using multiple of colors, but you only can create a depth of color with layers. The front of your face, the brows, eyes, and lips create a T. Make sure all these features stand out together, not just one. Your eyes should be taken in the whole face, not just the eyes or just the brows or just the lip, that they have the same intensity. This is how you balance the face. Then add to the apple of the cheeks to bring it all together. Remember, no matter which colors you use, the most important thing when finished painting the doll's face is balancing the T. Understand the doll is the picture, the wig and the outfit is the frame. You want your eye to come to the face, travel the doll, and return to the face. It is the focal point of your vision. Thank you for listening to my lecture. I hope it inspired you to challenge yourself and not be afraid to create. Experimenting is the best teacher when working with color, or let someone else work with it and teach you through seminars. Either way, enjoy your doll making.